So we hear all the time, don't we, these days, whether we want to or not, about the benefits of having these weight loss injections. You know what they are: Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic. They're hailed as miracle drugs, and trials suggest that some jabs could help patients lose up to a fifth of their body weight. Data suggests they could slash the risk of heart attacks and strokes. So it all sounds fabulous. But today there have been reports of some bad reactions and health complications. According to the UK's medicines regulator, the active ingredient in Mounjaro has been linked with 181 reports of chronic pancreatitis, and 5 people have died. And the ingredient in Wegovy and Ozempic has been linked with 113 reports of pancreatitis, with 1 death. Now, there is no evidence that the drugs directly cause these cases, but health officials have been prompted to launch a new study into potential side effects. So we're going to be speaking to a doctor about that in just one moment. But first of all, I do want to know what your experiences have been. What's it been like for you? The number's 0207 862 2222. Do get in touch. And Dame Jenny, you are on them.
I am. I've been on Mounjaro since September. I've had weight problems all my adult life.
So have I. I can identify with that, yes.
But as I became an adult, and I did have surgery 12 years ago, I think, and had a gastric sleeve, and went from 24 stone.
Yeah, we can see a picture of you here. This is kind of before the gastric sleeve and after the gastric sleeve.
Horrors.
Yes.
And then, of course, you forget that you can put weight on even when you've had the surgery. And I had a lovely Ukrainian refugee staying with me. She was with me for 3 years. And she loved to cook. Now, potatoes, little parcels with pastry and all sorts of things. Absolutely delicious. Puddings. And I went from my 12 stone up to 16. And I thought, oh, no, this is not right. And my physiotherapist said, try this Mounjaro. It's really good. So I tried it, and I'm back at 12 stone now.
Fabulous.
I've had no side effects at all. And I'm... Sorry?
That you know of yet.
Well, yet, yeah. But, what worries me about it is the reason we all got so fat is because of industry, because the food industry has poisoned us, basically. And tragically, we now have to look at the pharmaceutical industry to make us thin.
What do you mean when you say the food industry has poisoned us? Isn't it just we all ate all the pies? I mean, some people were not fat because they didn't. Some people did an enormous amount of exercise like James and managed to keep the weight off. And you and I were always just finishing off the pudding and having an extra slice of cheesecake. Why is it the food industry?
You still have choices, though, don't you? You have a choice either to eat healthy or not eat healthy.
Well, when I was a child and a teenager being fed by my mother, my grandmother, perfectly homemade, fresh, good stuff, I never put any weight on at all.
No.
And then as I got older, and you start at university going to the canteen and you're eating the chips and whatever rubbish is on the table there, and then you get older and you're very, very busy, so you're grabbing whatever there is, the sandwich here, there and everywhere. And the food that the food industry produces, we all know now, is not good food.
I think processed food, I think there's a difference, isn't there? If you're cooking from scratch, if you're cooking protein like fish or chicken from scratch, or if you're wealthy enough and you're lucky enough to be able to afford organic vegetables, you're cooking everything from scratch, well, which is what I try and do for my kids who are primary school age. But obviously, they aren't the easiest or the quickest or the cheapest. If you go to Iceland, other supermarkets are available, but you go to Iceland, cheap processed food is readily available, and it's pizza. And it's very highly processed, and so there's no nutrients there. But obviously, if you're, cost of living crisis, it's
no nutrients. There are nutrients in all food, including processed food. Let's not get carried away by saying we're being poisoned or there are no nutrients in these foods. Some people subsist entirely on these foods, and they exist and they have whole lives eating them. I mean, James, every time Dame Jenny decided to have an individual fruit pie, every time I had a chocolate mousse, every time Emily has a milk tray or whatever it is, we're making a choice. We could have grilled fish, we could have grilled chicken, we could buy one of those bowls of vegetables in the market for £1, and we could stew them, and we could eat ratatouille, and we could be slimmer. Is it fair to blame the food industry?
I mean, I do agree
with you. Is it our fault?
It is our fault. It is our fault, essentially, because I put on a lot of weight after COVID. When I lost my dad, I put on about 20 kilos. and I eventually looked at myself and said I had to do something about it. So I did look into it.
We
and
can look at the
research
before and after of James and Ola. Look at that.
I looked at my macros, and I knew that I needed to increase my protein intake, look at the carbs that I was eating, so eating good carbs instead of bad carbs, for example, eating sweet potato instead of normal potato because it doesn't spike your insulin, getting the right amount of fats from like avocado and cheese and things like that. So I really researched it. So I think the biggest issue is we need to educate our children that they're eating the right stuff.
Let me ask you something though, James. Sometimes you've had to lose weight quickly because you're about to go on tour, you're about to, in the old days you used to have to do Strictly, and sometimes when you weren't dancing on Strictly, the weight would creep on a little bit and you'd have to lose it nice and quickly. Would you, now the jabs are available, would you think, great, why don't you just have a few jabs and finish?
Absolutely not. For myself, I think the jabs are amazing. I know lots of people, lots of friends that are on the jabs, and they're so much happier for their mental health. They look great. So I'm not against them. I just personally know that I can do myself what the jabs are doing for the people, which is dedicating myself, making sure I'm getting the right amount of steps. I do a lot of incline walking, so I'm keeping the muscle at the same time. I lift weights because by the time you hit 30, every year after the age of 30, you lose 1 to 2% of muscle each year. So when these people are losing weight on the jabs, the one thing that they don't realize is they're also losing 36% of their muscle. So alongside the jabs, they really should be doing some form of resistance
I still
training.
haven't recovered from our very first dance, which was to that Shania Twain track, that ghastly track that I never want to hear again as long as I live, that we had to, You Don't Impress Me Much.
That's it.
Where to distract the audience from my appalling dancing, James had to rip his entire shirt off. And
I think you ripped it off.
God, I think I ripped it. I've tried to draw a veil over that. I really have. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, but also, of course, incredibly titillating, arousing, and absolutely magnificent. There he was, almost entirely naked, right in front of me. The whole thing was too much, honestly. Let's discuss.
Calm down, dear.
Yes, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Wait. Let me just flick myself with a little bit of confidence. Just having a hot flash. It's not my fault. It's the time of life. What can I do on live television? Joining us now, Dr. Philippa Kay, and we're going to ask her the key question. Dr. Philippa, lovely to have you on the show as ever. Should anyone who feels that the weight loss jab would be fine for them go and see a GP and try and get themselves fixed up with the jabs?
Well, first of all, I need to correct, unfortunately, some misinformation that's just come out here. If you have obesity, it is not your fault. 80% of obesity is related to genetics, and those genetics affect everything from how quickly you eat, how full you get, how hungry you are in the future, and the very choices of food that you make. So the person who can walk past a bakery and not think anything, and the person who has to walk in, and even when they're in there, will choose a donut over an oat cake. And we all don't have the same 24 hours in the day, and some of us live in food deserts and work 3 jobs and have no car and no oven and no fridge or no whatever else. And actually, it's really important that we don't judge people who are desperately trying to keep their children full. So that's my first thing. Obesity is a chronic disease which increases your risk of having other health conditions, be that certain forms of cancer, heart disease, stroke, dementia, and these jabs are essentially going to be life-saving in that way. Now, the new piece of research, the new piece of information out today from the MHRA is showing a link between these medications and pancreatitis in a very small number of people. But it doesn't show causation. And the difference between association and causation is vital. So I am 5 foot tall and I have blue jeans in my cupboard. If everybody who was 5 foot tall had blue jeans in their cupboard, does that mean that having blue jeans makes me short? It doesn't. It's an association. In order to prove causation, you'd have to find a way of working out how those genes meant that I didn't grow taller than the 5 feet tall that I am. And actually, when it comes to these jabs and pancreatitis, we are yet to prove that causation, because common things which increase your risk of developing pancreatitis include gallstones and alcohol. People who have obesity are more likely to have gallstones. So is it the injections that is causing the pancreatitis, or is it the fact that you had obesity that increased your risk of gallstones? Is it the fact that maybe you drank more alcohol, which affected your obesity, which then caused the pancreatitis? So I would say that if people out there who are having this down the official routes, who meet the criteria to have it, are worried, of course, please speak to your GP, but that actually we don't have evidence to prove causation. And in that group of people, the risk versus benefit ratio that we always talk about is likely to come down harder in terms of benefit. But if you're taking it just to lose a couple of pounds before your summer holiday, that's not licensed, that's not within the guidelines. And in that situation, your risks are likely to be higher.
And question, we've heard a lot about the benefits to your heart health, benefits to your joint health, benefits to all sorts of things, including some suggestions that the weight loss jabs might protect against Alzheimer's, dementia and that kind of thing. Now, you've said that we can't take this worry about pancreatitis as at face value because of the difference between causation and association, but can we take all the good and positive claims at face value?
So I think that we can't ignore something which is an association. We then now need to do some more research into that, and that is what the MHRA is doing. And even if it has proven to be caused, then we will still need to do that risk-benefit balance for everybody, and that will be individual for individual people. We know that these medications can cause diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. Not everybody will get along with them, but actually we do have quite good evidence about, in particular, Ozempic or Wegovy, because we've been using it for such a long time in terms of diabetes. We've been using it for decades. And we have so much research about the risks of obesity that we can use that research to talk about the benefits of then losing that weight.
Philippa, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you on the programme. Let's go straight to our callers. Let's start with Helen in West Midlands. Helen, you're on the jabs. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good, actually. It's not the first time I've been on weight loss jabs. I started taking them 4 years ago when they were first licensed in this country because I was due to have weight loss surgery, but I couldn't because I had a breathing problem and the anaesthetist wouldn't allow me to go through the surgery. So I started taking Saxenda. I lost 4 stone in 12 months on the Saxenda, but then I had to go through quite a lot of tests, liver, kidney test, all this, to make sure that I was healthy enough to have the injections. Now, I gave up smoking 2 years ago and I put 5 stone back on again from giving up the cigarettes.
Gosh.
And
you're getting sympathetic smiles from Dame Jenny, let me tell you. You really are. One of her struggles,
you
same
give up
thing.
one thing and something else hits you.
Yeah.
But I basically was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 10 weeks ago. I've got COPD, I've got motor and sensory neuropathy, I've got a lot of chronic illnesses, and I was prescribed the Mounjaro by the doctor to try and help me lose the weight because I'm not very mobile, I'm housebound, I use a mobility scooter, and I'm on oxygen at night time, and because I can't walk very far, both with my physical disability and my breathing, this is the main reason that I was prescribed them. My daughter's actually on them as well. She buys hers, but we know so many people that are buying them on the black market.
Not a good idea, obviously, and everybody knows that that's a dangerous thing to do. But Helen, I want to know, how's it going for you since you've been put on it? How's it going?
Really well, actually. I've lost 18 pounds in 10 weeks.
Fabulous.
I've had no side effects.
Great.
I feel great.
Well, that's good to know. And I really wish you well with all your different conditions. And I really hope it's going to make a fantastic difference to you and be just right for you. I certainly hope so. Let's go to Amanda. She's in Oxfordshire. Thanks for ringing, Amanda. What's going on with you in the weight loss jabs?
Oh, well, actually, I was on them for 3 months.
Yeah.
I put on them because I'm diabetic and overweight. So, and I had a bit of a fatty liver, and so the lady there, the doctor said, I would recommend that you go on it. But I went on the first month, I had a 2.5 milligrams, then the second month I had 5 milligrams, and the third month I had 7.5 milligrams, and I never lost any weight.
You never lost any weight? Gosh. And so,
no.
Did you notice no difference in your appetite at all?
Nope. Absolutely none. Everybody else had said around me, I know quite a few people who are on it, and they were like, "Oh, we've lost pounds, we've lost." I said, "I never had any side effects, and I never lost any weight at all." And I went back to the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the doctor then said that I came off of it. I then spoke to my doctor and said I came off it myself, and went back to a doctor, and I said about trying something else. He said, "No, you're not. I don't know why you were put on it in the first place. You're not eligible for it."
Oh, okay. So a complete failure and an absolute fiasco and complete waste of time. Jenny, all the people you know who are using it, have you heard anyone else say that?
No one.
Yeah, no.
Because normally they say that the food noise goes away.
That's the best thing about it.
Yes.
Do you know about the food noise?
I do.
I know about the food noise. You know about the food noise.
Yeah.
That noise that just says, yeah, go on. Have that croissant. Have that piece of chocolate cake. Every minute of the day. And with Mounjaro, it's gone.
Yeah, so that's a huge relief.
It's fantastic.
It's like being released from this kind of inner voice kind of forcing you to eat, knowing you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Amanda's obviously a complete failure for her. Let's go to Mary in Cambridgeshire. How about you, Mary? You're on the jabs.
Yes, I am. I'm on Wegovy, and I've been on it since last October. I'm in by the NHS, but they contract out to a firm called Aviva.
Okay. And how's it working for you? How's it going?
It's working extremely well. I've lost 3.5 stone. I've still got a long way to go. But Aviva helped me with my diet to make sure I have enough proteins and everything. I have to put down what I eat. And in fact, with Aviva, I have a psychologist, a nurse, and a dietitian who are assisting me.
Gosh,
so
how much more weight have you got left to lose, do you think, Mary?
I think I need to lose about another 3 stone. So I've still got a way to go, but I'm allowed the jabs for 2 years. So hopefully I should make it.
And tell me, when Jenny talks about the food noise going away, do you understand what she means? Are you experiencing that too?
I understand that totally. I was hungry 24 hours a day. Even if I had a huge meal and I was full, I still wanted to carry on eating. And I've now had to learn that when I go out for a meal that I'm full and I put my knife and fork down because I'm absolutely full and I don't want to eat anymore. It's absolutely amazing.
I'm going to ask Jenny about this. When you're completely full, is it still something of a shock? Because before you were never really finished eating.
I'm beginning to get used to it. It's lovely. I mean, when I go out to dinner with my best friend, Sally, we used to have maybe a steak each and we'd have a bowl of chips each. She'd eat 3 chips. I'd eat the whole bowl.
Yeah.
Now I have one
chip.
Just to remind me that they taste good. And I don't want any more.
James?
I'm not against the jabs at all. I think they're fantastic. And like I said, I know people that are personally on it and it's changed their life. They're so much happier, mental health, etc., etc. And it's great for the NHS because obesity is a massive problem. But you keep talking about this food noise. Do we not have to explain to people feeling hungry isn't necessarily a bad thing? It's about teaching people that you are going to feel hungry. It doesn't mean you have to keep eating all the time. It's about portion sizes, portion control. Otherwise, are we just going to keep injecting ourselves with things just to suppress our appetites? Or there might be something else in 10 years' time where we're injecting ourselves to solve that problem. I just think that people have to understand that feeling hungry isn't a bad thing. I feel hungry now, but I know that I have an amount of calories per day that I can consume before I start putting on weight. So I try and stay within those parameters. So I do think it's about educating our children that there's nothing wrong with feeling hungry. The same as I go in the sauna because I know it's good for you, and it's a heat which I don't particularly like, but I know it's good for me, so I do it. Cold showers and things like that, it's very uncomfortable, but it's been scientifically proven that it's good for you, so I do it. Feeling hungry and having discipline not to eat, that's what it's about. Let's teach people to have some discipline in their life instead of injecting themselves.
All right, let's go to Hazel in Newcastle. Hazel, you're on the jab, but really it's because you're diabetic. How's it worked out in terms of losing weight?
Well, to be honest, anyway, hi guys.
Hi.
Hi, Hazel.
To be honest, are you there?
Yes, we're certainly there. You can see us, can't you? We're on the telly.
I can, but I can't hear myself. You know.
Hazel, we can hear you. What would you like to say?
I've been on the jab. I told you, one of your researchers, it was only about 2 to 3 years, but actually, when I've looked, I've been on that jab for 6 years. And in that 6 years, I've probably lost about 3 stone. But I didn't know the jab I was taking for my diabetes was actually Mounjaro.
Oh, I see.
And it was my daughter who brought it to my attention that she says, Mum, you're losing an awful lot of weight, which to me is a great thing. But I didn't know that it was the Mounjaro jab. However, the problem I'm having now, since I upped the dose, is pancreatitis.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's
Obviously,
my problem.
they're across it. They'll be looking after you. They'll be watching it carefully and all that kind of a thing, Hazel. I wonder, are they linking it to the jab? But obviously, you have to have it for your diabetes anyway, don't you?
Well, the surgeon who I went to see, the consultant about the stomach problems, suggested that it could be the jab that I'm on, also an antidepressant causes pancreatitis. So which is which, I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
However...
Oh, good luck working that one out,
people
Hazel. Thank you for calling. Let's go to Sarah in Essex. Sarah, oh, gosh, another call about pancreatitis. Sarah, what happens with you then? What happened?
So I had a bit of a higher cholesterol in November, and I knew I was overweight. I didn't feel good about myself. I felt overweight, menopausal, and unhappy. So I went on Mounjaro. I went through one of the organisations, which they check your blood pressure. They make sure that you're doing it all properly. Went on it in January. I've done 3-4 months. Changed my life, lost 3 stone. I've got so much more energy. I'm walking up and downstairs and running. It's brilliant. Yeah. You can hear the butt coming. 2 weeks ago, rushed into hospital, acute pancreatitis.
Describe what it feels like, just so if anyone's on the lookout for it, they know what it's like. What does it feel like? Which bit of your tummy hurts?
Well, at risk of oversharing, one of the issues with the Mounjaro was that I had constipation.
Oh, God,
so
that is oversharing. Blimey, anyway. Yes.
Sorry. But I dealt with the constipation. It was then that I realised that the pain just underneath my boobs was very bad. I went into A&E because I don't drink any alcohol at all. I don't have any fried food, and I'm not overweight anymore. I think the presumption is probably the Mounjaro. I can't stay on it. I'm gutted. The food noise has started again. I don't know how to control it. I feel absolutely gutted. People need to understand the psychological effect of taking something that stops that food noise, because it really impacts my life, and I'm terrified of putting the weight back on. It's not just because I fancy a dessert. It is a constant banging about food in my head. And so I'm gutted. I just wish I could be on it.
Go to Dame Jenny, because obviously she really can identify with this. She feels for you. She knows what's going on here.
Yeah, I've been through that for years and years and years. And it's horrible. And to have to go back to it, this is why, I'm 75 now. So I'm sort of saying to myself, well, I may not have too many years left where I have to use these jabs. But my plan is to stay on Mounjaro on the low dose forever. Because every time I've been on a diet in the past, which I've done, and I'm sure you have.
Everyone knows I have. Mine have all been in public. It's been awful.
You think, yes, you're all right now, you can eat normally again, and your body goes, no, you're starving. Come on, you've got to eat. And you put all the weight back on. I'm sorry, we're not all as disciplined as you are.
No, and I know that, and that's why I said I'm not anti the jabs at all, and it's changed a lot of my friends' lives. Yeah. But I'm saying the facts that it would be much better, wouldn't it, to teach our children to exercise, to go to the gym, to do resistance training, to eat healthy, to have lots of protein, which fills you up more, rather than carbs and chips and things like that, to educate them to do it the healthy way, rather than injecting themselves for the rest of their lives.